What's good, my monks and disciples? It is your master ShaolinPretzels, and welcome to today's discussion. So, the topic that is on the table for today. While I was watching CBT US East 2, I was watching Grand Finals, and I was noticing the different types of VSkill and VTrigger combinations that I've seen Smug's Balrog use. And it kind of got me thinking that Balrog is just one of those characters that I feel like you can use like any variation of his VSkill and VTrigger and be effective. So then it got me thinking, a lot of SF5's competitive meta, or a really big component of it rather, is which VSkills and VTriggers can you use effectively at a competitive level. So the main focus of this discussion is going to be how the meta of SF5's V system has shaped SF5 at a high tournament level. So I'm going to be going through this discussion based off of my own observations, off of your guys' observations in the chat, and we're just going to make this an open forum. We're going to be discussing the optimal combinations of VSkills and VTriggers for every character in the roster. We're going to see how many characters can use both their VTriggers and both their VSkills, or in various different combinations as is. And then the second part of the discussion is discussing the overall balance of the V system as a whole. Does the inclusion of SF5's VSkills and VTriggers and V-reversals, does the inclusion of all those different components create a more balanced environment for SF5? That's the kind of the crux of this discussion. Okay, so to get things situated, I just wanted to go over and assemble a tier list of every character in the roster and where they kind of rank in terms of like the usage of their V-triggers and their V-skills. Now I have the categories divided out as such. Both V-triggers, both V-skills. The characters in this tier are characters that can use both of their V-triggers and both of their V-skills at a high level and be more often than not very successful. It's practical for them to like switch between all four of their possible variations of a character to succeed at a high level. And then as we move down, we got both V-triggers, one V-skill, as in one V-skill is just like extremely better than the other one that you just really should just use this as like the optimal choice. And then the inverse, one V-trigger, both V-skills, where both V-skills can be used interchangeably for certain matchups, but one V-trigger is just significantly more powerful than the other one. And then we have one V-trigger, one V-skill, which is just a state of a character having only one possible combination of V-system mechanics that just work out well for them. And then there's the everything is bad category, where no matter what you do with this character, they are just going to be bad. Spoiler alerts, I don't think anyone's really in like this tier. I personally don't think so. Opinions could change along the way. So I went ahead in advance and drafted up a basic template of what I think everything is going to be organized with, just based off of my own observations. There's a bit of uncertainties here and there for certain characters, just due to me not really seeing too much of them. But for the most part, I have a rough idea of where everyone on the roster kind of stands. So if you guys have any general feedback about where I place some of these characters over the course of this session, feel free to let me know, and I will make adjustments and discuss back and forth with you guys on why we would place some characters at some places as opposed to others. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to start off by filling up the both V-trigger and both V-skill category. So these are characters that I feel like no matter what combination of V-trigger and V-skill that you use, I feel like they will be incredibly effective. And to start off, I'm going to put Abigail in this tier. For the sake of not lingering too long on each of the characters, I'm just going to give like a really brief explanation of why I think a character should be placed where they are. Abigail, pretty plain simple. V-skill 1, sometimes you're going to really want a parry for specific matchups. Like I know I've seen a bunch of Abigails in our local scene use VSkill 1 parry against M. Bison. It's just like a really nice counter to some of his head stomp and double reverse options to kind of help negate that. VSkill 2, really good screen control, really makes Abigail a threat from full, like basically every single range of the screen. So I could see it as being like a very powerful tool against zoners and generally against most characters in the roster. If not for those specific special cases where I think that Hungaby, the parry, is significantly good, I think Tyre is a very nice universal option. So if Abigail weren't to go in this tier, I think he would probably would go one tier below. VTrigger 2 is a really powerful move. The armor of Hybrid Charge is a very substantial threat. I forget the name of his VTrigger 1, but basically it's like that powered up state where he gets like additional armor on like his heavies and whatnot. In some specific cases, the damage and combo extensions that you get off of VTrigger 1 and the additional benefit of being able to reflect projectiles with back fierce in VTrigger 1, I could see it being very, very nice for some specific matchups. Like one notable case from my experience would be Rashid VTrigger 1. So that's just a very easy projectile reflect. You just send the tornado just right back at them. Okay, just gonna keep moving on. I'm gonna try and make this a little bit faster. Vega, and I feel like also goes in this tier. VSkill 1 spin, really good for getting around projectiles. VSkill 2, really good for backing out of situations, especially in air reset situations. VTrigger 1, really good tempting punish from a full ranges of the screen. VTrigger 2, it's another parry, again, like Abigail VSkill 1, sometimes you just need a parry. As I said before, Balrog, VSkill 2, really powerful for blowing through a bunch of characters' pressure and it really threatens their advance. It's also really good for breaking through characters with substantial armor like Abigail and Zangief. VSkill 1, a lot of Balrog's mobility and ability to like feint and fake people out is the result of him doing dash straights into VSkill 1. It's also a really good projectile evasion tool. So a lot of what Balrog is very dependent on that VSkill 1. But VSkill 2 has some very powerful applications as well. VTrigger 1, it's pretty good for just the sake of getting like extra damage and substantial corner carry on a lot of Balrog's combo extensions, especially whenever you toss in that VSkill 1. VTrigger 2, I think the option of having a command grab is a very powerful component to the success of some characters in this game, especially a character like Balrog. Balrog, by his very nature, kind of threatens control over the mid and close range space, because there's always that ever-present threat of him checking any immediate movement with his dash straights. But because of that, your opponent, whenever you're playing Balrog, is going to be very tempted to just like try and block through a lot of your exchanges. But VTrigger 2 forces the opponent to think. Like, they can't just sit there all the time just blocking. They'll get opened up very easily. Okay, so next character for this tier is Dhalsim. Dhalsim players are an interesting beast, because I feel like you have to be a tactician when you're playing Dhalsim. You have to really think like multiple steps ahead. And I think all of Dhalsim's V-system options allow him to play that tactical style of play. They allow him really good set play components. VTrigger 1, the little fire carpet, forces the issue. The opponent can't stay in one spot. In a corner, it's very lethal for them to be there, because Dhalsim has really solid anti-air options and really solid checks with like the stand medium punch. Really forces the opponent to really think, otherwise they're just cooking and just building up a whole bunch of great life, which again, they can also just lose in an instant. VTrigger 2, the Samsara, the giant fireball that you can control across the screen with the gales. really good at threatening in the mid-screen range. It gives Dalsum an extra pressure component as he's slowly moving his way in, which I think is very nice. VSkill 1, the float. The float is just one additional component that I think is good against opponents with like, or good against characters with like really brain dead anti-airs. My character Poison and also Falk being one of those characters. Moves that alter your jump arc in this game are really strong. And though Dalsum's jump arc is fairly floaty, him having access to the float gives him access to a whole range of additional tactical options. Couple that onto the fact that Dalsum's one of the few characters that has the ability of using his CA in the air as well, and it's you get a lot of wide variety from VSkill 1. VSkill 2 is another good component to Dalsum's set play because it grants his fireballs the property of being able to just bounce off of the walls, which can be very threatening at really just like anywhere on the screen, because then like Dalsum can just like charge up the fireballs, spit one out, and then go for like a side switch mix up for the teleport. So it creates a really interesting left-right mix up guessing game for Dalsum. So even if you like try and check the teleports, you might also still end up getting hit by the projectile, and it'll lead to potentially even more damage off of that. Next character on the list, I'm feeling on the cusp, like I could probably put them in the third tier, but I am going to put Ed in this top tier, right? Or this top tier. This is the only time Ed will ever be top tier. VSkill 1, it has very good combo extensions, pretty standard affair. Works really well with VTrigger 1 as well. VSkill 2, down VSkill 2 gives them really good plus frames. It's a really good meaty because it's plus a bunch on meaty. It's actually almost ridiculous. VTrigger 1 is really decent pressure tool. Get some decent combo extensions off of it, and then VTrigger 2 basically gives them really solid plus frames from mid to far range. So it allows Ed to get in fairly easily and then create a sort of guessing game for you, because then he's just +2 in your face. All right, next character on the list, I'm gonna put Guile here. Guile's an interesting character because I feel like they made what is very traditionally a super defensive character have extremely good offensive tools. His VSkill 1 enhances his fireballs to a very powerful extent because he can just like walk behind them. So that adds like an extra component to his pressure. VSkill 2 basically gives him a dive kick. It essentially gives him a dive kick, another really good pressure tool in close range. VTrigger 1 obviously leads to a bunch of very powerful sonic boom loops and its own little pressure strings, which can lead to left-right mix-ups if you go for like medium speed boom, a couple of slow booms, dash up a bit, jump over to the opposite side. You can hit them with a low mix-up. That's always pretty good. VTrigger 2, it has its uses. It gives him increased damage off of his anti-airs, which for a character like Guile, pretty solid. Next up on the list is Honda. VSkill 1, though I see VSkill 1 used very minimally, I think it's a good tool for getting past some characters with really effective fireball zoning. Specifically the Shotos. VSkill 2, really good offensive pressure tool just with it powering up the hands. Very powerful, creates some additional plus frames. Some extended combo ability. You almost can't go wrong with VSkill 2. VTrigger 1, very solid, unblockable. What my mentor would say is one of the best unblockables in the game. Honda having a non-EX armored headbutt tool in addition to what he already has, it makes VTrigger 1 a very powerful option. VTrigger 2, another armored option, the armored command grab. from a far range, it can be pretty much, it can be a pretty big gimmick. Up close though, and in combos is very strong. Gives you guaranteed corner carry. Can go straight through some strike V reversals. So if you can bait your opponent into going for a V reversal, you can just immediately catch them with the VTrigger 2 command grab. And I've seen some of our highest level players in Ohio get hit by that. Next character on the list, Kage. So the reason why I put Kage here, Kage's V system combinations are kind of interesting because a lot of them are designed, a lot of his V skills are designed around use with VTrigger 1. Which VTrigger, it's those V skills application with VTrigger 1 that makes me put Kage in this tier. His V skills, the like armored, like kind of like focus attack punch, and the like the slam. The versions that you get of those in VTrigger 1 are extremely powerful. VSkill VT1 enhanced VSkill 1 goes extremely far range, and I believe it also crush counters as well. But VT1 enhanced VSkill 2 gives him a really solid throw bait tool. So if your opponent whiffs a throw or whiffs another button right in front of your face, and you have VTrigger activated as Kage, you can easily whiff punish their move with the VSkill 2, and it leads to some pretty solid damage follow-ups afterwards. Kage VTrigger 2, very powerful. You get Demon, that's always nice, having access to what is essentially a command grab super that you can also combo into. Masogi is pretty powerful. Leads to some pretty good situations on Oki. So next character on this list is Sagat. I've seen Sagat players use VSkill 1, which powers up his DPs, and VSkill 2, which powers up his Tiger Knees. I've seen them use those V skills very interchangeably. The intricacies as to how they decide to use them when they decide to use them, a bit of a mystery to me, I'm not gonna lie. But the very fact that I see a very frequent interchangeability based off of different preferences and style of play makes me inclined to put Sagat in this tier for that reason. VTrigger 1, very, very good combo extensions and really powerful control from really just anywhere on screen. I know of one particular Sagat player. One of his favorite sequences to do is to bait their opponent to neutral jump his fireballs from full screen. So then what he would do is that he would, after conditioning them to just neutral jump the fireballs for a while, he'll throw a slow low tiger shot and then like immediately throw out a tiger cannon, the VTrigger 1, and then that gives Sagat enough time to dash in and then do a DP into whatever, DP into super or just regular DP, and sometimes that's enough. I've seen many a Sagat take games off of people with that very powerful sequence. VTrigger 2, very good, is like, really the main pivotal move of VTrigger 2 is that charge up kick, which really just kind of like, it adds an extra like threatening component to Sagat. It gives you a couple additional combo extensions as well. I don't really see people use like the multi knee strike combo sequence that VTrigger 2 also gives you. It's mainly that charge kick that also guard breaks. That's what I see most often from this VTrigger, and was a very popular option whenever Sagat came out. That was kind of like the meta. The meta was mostly like kind of centered around him using that VTrigger at the start. Now it's kind of evened out where I see Sagat sometimes use VT1 and then Sagat's like sometimes use VT2. Next up on this list, and I feel very interested. I feel a certain type of way about this next entry. So next up on this list, I'm gonna put Seth. Now, Seth, a character that's been out for about 7 months. We haven't truly seen this character on like an international level, just because we don't have tournaments yet where everyone from every single region can compete together at the same time in like a CPT style fashion. So we've seen Seth players bits and pieces across different regions. Some of them are using VTrigger 2 and doing like really ridiculous left-right mix-ups with the orb. Some people are using VTrigger 1 and getting insane mileage off of the follow-ups that Seth gets off of his special moves. The hands, he gets plus frame pressure. The kicks, he get from the kicks, the Tatsu and the dive kick, he gets like a really decent combo extension, and DP, he gets a really solid ender. VSkill 2, really solid offense and defense. I've seen it used to both rush down people from like full screen, and I've also seen it be used by people to completely evade and get the hell out of certain situations. VSkill 1 is interesting on the sense that I feel like this is a VSkill you can make work depending on what character that you're also fighting. VSkill 1 does break armor, so in matchups like the Zangief matchup, it can be kind of brutal just to see VSkill 1 just like tear through flex like nobody's business. And plus, in that matchup, you're not going to want to use VSkill 2 hands anyway, because that leaves you in a very... It leaves you in a non-optimal position. Let's just leave it at that. Speaking of Zangief is actually the last character I'm going to put in here. I think that there are some characters here that I don't have full knowledge of where exactly it is that they place. I'm looking back over at this list, and I can obviously tell that there are some that I am potentially missing that could very easily go in this category, but Eve is the last character that with certainty I can put in here. So why do I put Eve in here? Flex is a very, very good counter and a really good armored counter move. I've seen it deal with many matchups with just the greatest of ease, and against single hit moves, even better. VSkill 2 makes some of Zangief's most difficult matchups against zoners a lot more even, specifically the poison matchup. I could speak from like very decent experience in that regard. It kind of disincentivizes poison from just like mindlessly throwing out heart rate and just watch Geef struggle. It also not being weak to lows like VSkill 1, also a very good quality. VTrigger 1, the Cyclone, really good at pulling the opponents in, kind of creates a bit of a mix-up whenever they activate it, because it's either they hold it to try and get the hits, or they just like tap it just to pull them in and get just like a simple like command grab afterwards. So the mix-up that creates is pretty powerful, and it just adds to the guessing game that is fighting Geef at close range, which is very powerful. VTrigger 2 is interesting because it simply buffs up the damage of his command grabs, but I have seen Zangief's completely demolish people very quickly, very effectively with VTrigger 2. VTrigger 2 is just one of those V-triggers where it's like you use this to try and end the round as soon as feasibly possible. And against like low health characters like Akuma, I could possibly see this as being a very powerful option. So that pretty much does it for this tier, at least as far as I have it on my list as of right now. Next up, we're going to be moving on to the characters that can use both of their V-triggers, but only one of their V-skills practically at a high level. And first on that list is Birdie. I don't think the bubble is worth it at all in the slightest. You get some nice, unique little combo extensions here and there, but it's not worth it. The can, the banana, really good ground control as it is. The bubble is just kind of not worth it. VTrigger 1, all the additional hits and armor that gives, really good for a character like Birdie. VTrigger 2, really good for pulling the opponent and then creating interesting opportunities for -2 mix-ups. Next character on this list, Chun-Li. Hazunshu, not really needed. You're better off not using it. The VSkill 1 leap is really good, has some very good combo extensions, really good routes, especially in this season. VTrigger 1, I still see VTrigger 1 used for characters that have like one-hit armor moves that lose very easily to multiple hits. VTrigger 1 can be very effective in those matchups. VTrigger 2, really good armor break move. Chun-Li really forces the situation whenever she has Kikosho active. Can't really challenge her after any of her special moves, because she can make them safe with Kikosho afterwards, and if you try to punish one of her lightning legs and she does Kikosho afterwards, probably gonna get clipped. You could potentially die off of that. Fighting against Kikosho demands patience. Next character on this list, I put Gil. The meteor is, in theory, it would be nice for set play, but in practice, it doesn't really get that job done. So most people just tend to opt for the parry. It's really nice. Gil's parry is the best parry in the game. I believe it is 2-frame startup. Text on screen in post, if I am completely incorrect here. So it gives him a pretty good wake up option for a character that doesn't really have much in the way of wake up options. BT2, mostly good for set play, mostly good for the flashy stuff. Against a decent number of high level opponents, they might be very well aware of a majority of the mix-ups that Gil can possibly do in VTrigger 2. But with Gil being where he is in terms of like the current meta of SF5, not a lot of people are going to have experience at high level with those VTrigger 2 mix-ups, so I think that they'll still be effective even at the highest level of play. VTrigger 1, really good screen control, really good combo extensions. It, like, Flame Javelin negates like every projectile in this game free, including some CA projectiles, so that makes it a very veritable threat. Next up on the list, Karin. So VTrigger 1, those are the Rekkas. They're obviously pretty good. Combo extensions, those being what they are. VTrigger 2 creates a really interesting guessing game because it gives her a parry. Or really not even just like a traditional parry, more like a counter. It's another one of those things, like kind of similar to Chun-Li and Vega to some extent, where it makes punishing her special moves and whatnot on block a guessing game, because then she can cancel it into parry and easily like and basically steal her turn back. VSkill 1, the first palm thrust, pretty good, negates projectiles, good at opening up situations. I never see people use VSkill 2. Plain and simple, just never see people use it. Next character on the list is Lucia. Lucia I put here because VSkill 2, the overhead kick, not used very often. It's kind of similar to Ken's. They gave a lot of characters like overhead, like flip kick V-skills. Like they gave one to Chun-Li, they gave one to Lucia, they gave one to Ken. All of which to minimal success because, spoiler alerts, not a lot of characters with those types of V-skills actually use them at a competitive level. Okay, finally, initial bit of conflict. Okay, Keston. So let's talk about Lucia VT2 real quick, because this could very easily put her in the one VTrigger 1 V-skill category. As far as I'm aware, I think that VTrigger 2's combo extensions and some of the pressure that you get from it makes it barely worth it. VTrigger 1 powering up her special moves, again, really good. Basically makes her normal special moves her EX variants. VSkill 1, VT2 all the way. Okay, so for the sake of clarification, I am going to pull up Lucia's frame data specifically for the VT2. For the sake of the context of this discussion, let's go down to VT2 real quick and see what's up. So on paper, it's a special cancelable move that's -2 on block. Does Lucia just not get much mileage off of the -2 mix-ups? Does it just leave her at like a range where it's just like not that effective? Is the damage output from VTrigger 1 better? Like I need some like objective reasons for why not to opt into VT2. And this is good. We're getting a little bit of Discord going. VTrigger 1 is important for her higher damage combos. Okay, so it's mostly just a matter of her optimal damage routes. For that reason, we can change that from my initial list. I don't play like a majority of these characters. I think it's kind of natural for me to not play a majority of the characters in the roster, and naturally I won't probably see every character in the roster. So the point of having this open discussion is that we can get perspectives from multiple different lenses. So it's good that we have a Lucia player in the chat right now that can help us kind of like navigate through this. This is a good thing. I'm trying to get like a generalized like overview of like where like most people kind of perceive each character's V system options being. So I'm just taking like the aggregate of all of our collective experiences of either playing these characters or fighting against these characters, and basically assessing like which characters' V system combinations are like more optimal than others. The advantage of VT2 is in matchups where you have to be reversal more since it's 2 bars. Gotcha. All right, so joining me on stream to kind of like help me like go through this will be Ohio's own UltimateVitality, top 5 player in Ohio, member of Team Cleveland, the team representing the state of Ohio at Amateur Street Fighter League, and scrubby jury player. So with that, what's good, Austin?
What's up? Okay, so what did I miss? What's happening?
Vega, VSkill 1, VSkill, VTrigger. He's good. He can only use his VTrigger 1's good. The VTrigger 2 is pretty whatever.
It's very situational.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't like zoom in either. So if I could zoom in on what the hell your chart says. Yeah, sorry everyone.
Zoom in all the way in. Okay.
Okay, both V-triggers, both V-skills, both V-triggers, one V-skill, one V-trigger, both V-skills. I think Vegas should go there. One V-trigger, both V-skills.
You think only V-trigger 1's worth it?
I mean, the only time Vegas ever do V-trigger 2 is if they want to activate and B+. That's it. Other than that, the V-trigger is useless because you only get 1 counter, and then if you miss, that's it.
Oh, he only gets 1.
Yeah, he only gets 1.
Dang. Okay.
He get, like if he like successfully parries, he gets 1. If he misses, he gets like 2 or 3.
Okay. So under that context, I will move him here.
Lucia, 1 V-trigger, 1 V-skill. No. She's at the highest level. She's 2 V-triggers, 1 V-skill.
You see, I said that before, and whenever I was talking with Keston about this, he mentioned that a majority of Lucia players, at least among the Lucia Discord, often recommend that you only go with the V-trigger 1, V-skill 1 combination, just due to the additional damage output that you can possibly get from that, as opposed to what you can get from V-trigger 2.
Right, but then again, with V-trigger 2, the fact that she can make most of her unsafe stuff safe, like sweep, for example.
Right.
It's a turn stealer, and she gets more of it, and she gets bigger. I'm gonna say bigger damage, but she gets more corner carry. Unlike V-trigger 1, where you do 1 combo and all her V-triggers gone, plus scaling. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that was my argument for putting her originally in both V-triggers 1 V-skill.
Yeah, I would put her there, but I mean, like you said, this is your list. You do whatever you want, but I think. I mean, even then, like both of her V triggers, like I said, aren't that good. So they're just, I think V trigger 1 is the better one.
Right.
But they both have their uses. Because like V trigger 1 for Lucia is just Jury's V trigger 1. You do 1 combo, maybe 2, and then that's it.
Right.
Is her V trigger 1 2 or 3 bars?
I believe it's. Part of me wants to say that it's 3 bars.
I want to say it's 2.
Yeah, it's 3 bars.
So yeah, that's why.
BT2 is 2 bars.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. That's what I would do though. That's me.
I'll probably come back to Lucia sometime later, but Moving on to the next character that I put in this specific list. Next, I had Poison in both VTriggers one. Yep. Traditionally, and I could speak very heavily about this as a Poison player, what VSkill 2 does for Poison in terms of the additional Oki and potential combo extensions that she gets off of this, VSkill 2 is just miles ahead better than just using VSkill 1. VSkill 1, yes, it's projectile invincible, but the startup's extremely slow, so you can't really react to projectiles with it on reaction. And if you're like if you're gonna be doing a preemptive option to try and get past fireballs anyway, you can just use the flip kicks instead. And then if you just have VSkill 2 tacked onto that, you can still get the additional Oki off of basically all of her special moves.
And even then, even with flip kick, you can just do heart rate and you win the trade.
Right.
VSkill 1 is pretty much bad. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make this. I'm gonna just make this easy for you. Go ahead and put Jerry in one VTrigger and one VSkill.
Oh yeah, trust me, I already had her there.
Because for those who don't know, we don't have a second VTrigger. We don't have. We're kind of waiting on that DLC. So I mean, we just gotta. I mean, we're getting 2 costumes, so hopefully the VTrigger comes in. We don't know yet. We'll see.
VTrigger 2 is just gonna be she puts on brass knuckles. It'll come only with like the Yakuza costume.
So VSkill 2 is very situational. Like it's good against like really good. Like it's really good against grapplers. It's really good against Karen. It could be good against Seth. I don't know yet. But it all like depends because like VSkill 2 it's the fireball, right? It's the one little short fireball. It stops you from approaching you.
Yep.
And at certain ranges, it could be like really good to just be able to store it in someone's face. It forces them to jump or hold it or walk away, whatever. It's -2, so she's safe. But there are like certain instances where she can make it plus or creep it up around you. And let's see. Like in like certain cases where she does like the hard kick fuha in the corner, she's +1, so that's plus frames. But same thing with VSkill 1, I can charge it, get level 2 and dash and be more plus, but it's just one of those things. But against like fireball characters or against like I want to say Vega and let's see, anyone who really like nullifies projectiles, VSkill 2 isn't that great. Like VSkill 2 wouldn't do shit against G. It wouldn't do shit against Kuma. It doesn't do anything against Colleen. Doesn't do anything against Rashid. It doesn't do anything against Cammy. So like maybe Blanca, maybe. Cody, no, it won't work against Cody. Like, yeah, it's really good against like Alex, Geef, Honda, and maybe Abby. I would say Abby too, because he has to get in. Like I said, it's also kind of good against Karen because it stops her from pressing buttons.
Right.
But like I said, it would have been good against Chun if Chun didn't have Kikoken. So, but Chun, nerf Chun.
Nerf Chun. So brief interjection before I move on to the next character. Keston just let me know in Twitch chat that he agrees with your points on Lucia, so I'm gonna move Lucia back here. Okay. So next up on the list that I had drafted before, I put Rashid.
Both VTriggers, 1, 2, yes.
Yep. So I actually recently went back into the Rashid Discord and had a discussion with them about how they feel about using Rashid's different VTrigger and VSkill options in specific matchups. For the most part, whenever it comes to using VTrigger 1 and VTrigger 2, it's mostly a matter of personal preference. Like, Rashid's is one of those characters that like universally can use both of his V-triggers against really any opponent, with the exception being in cases where they can get around the V-trigger 1. Like if a character has like a really solid option for like either negating or reflecting back V-trigger 1, then typically those are the matchups where Rashid would prefer V-trigger 2. But generally you can use both V-triggers with Rashid and be successful. VSkill 2 on the other hand is
a scrub killer.
It's a scrub killer. It's mostly a gimmick. So really, you're just gonna want to stick with VSkill 1, which is the roll and just like the standard like flip through the air, which you get easy extensions off of your normals and off of counter and crush counter hits.
And if you're paying attention, for characters that have an air throw, just air, because he has to commit to it. He can't go like down. He can't go backwards. He goes forward.
Yep.
So, I mean, granted, if he has VT1 activated and then does VSkill 2, he goes further. But at the same time, he has to commit to going forward. You just jump back, air throw, you're good.
Exactly.
Because once you see him jump, I mean, the mix-up is if he jumps, he can continue his jump, like normal, like it's a dive, like a normal dive kick.
Mm-hmm.
But since you're already waiting on that anyway, like, okay, since you already have, like, not like waiting on, but since you already have that mix-up anyway, which is like, jump, EX, Eagle Spike, or air EX Eagle Spike, you're already waiting for that mix-up. So when you don't see him flash, just see him jump, you're gonna DP, or my air throw. It's really that easy to beat. So yeah, it's really just a scrub killer. But both of his V-triggers are really good. V-trigger 1 is just commanding. It has 3 hits. They're all projectile. I don't think it goes away if he gets hit.
Nope. Actually, I think they changed that. If you hit him like really early in the startup, it just cancels it out.
Yeah, but I don't mean like that. Like if it's out, you have to deal.
Oh yeah, if it's out already, then you just have to deal with it.
So like you have to deal with it. It's 3 hits. He can adjust his trajectories. It's really good. It's slow moving. It's really a piece of shit V-trigger. He gains speed. Like if he runs, like if he dashes at it, he's in your face. If he whirlwinds, he's less minus. No, he's less minus. He's not plus. He's less minus. If he eagle spikes through it, he reset back to full screen. It's just a really, really obnoxious V-trigger to deal with sometimes.
Yep.
V-trigger 2, same thing. He has like an actual fireball. And it's plus because Rashid.
Yep.
Yeah, both V-triggers won't be skilled. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, next character on the list, Sakura.
Was it that both V-triggers won't be skilled?
Yep.
V-skill 1 is the...
VSkill 1 is the... I'm trying to remember the name of it.
The enhanced special moves or whatever.
V-trigger 1 is the enhanced fireballs. V-trigger 2 is enhanced DP and Tatsu.
Okay, and V-skill 1
is V-skill 1 is the leap, and V-skill 2 is the roll.
V-skill 1 is more of a V-trigger 2 thing. Because in order for that to even work out the way you want it to, you have to use V-trigger 2. Because she has the dive kick and the hops, like the 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to figure out, like, there's a combo that she does with it. I just don't know how they do it.
I believe I've heard THCB say in the past that, like, the Oki that she gets off of V-skill 2 just isn't, or V-skill 1 isn't as great as what you get off of V-skill 2 usually. With
I think with V-skill 2, which is, the knee, she, I mean, at least in some situations, like a character like Akuma, which is what we saw in a grudge match, I don't know if he did it or not, but she can dash, like, if she doesn't want to dash, she can just roll away from like a dive kick or an air fireball or something like that. It has a lot more utility than V-skill 1.
Right.
And I think the Oki's a lot better too. I don't say she gets better damage, but she gets more corner carry. I agree there.
Next up on this list, probably gonna move this one down to like 1 VTrigger, 1 VSkill in this meta, but because I've seen this work, next in both VTriggers, 1 VSkill, I'm gonna put Urian.
Yeah.
Specifically because it's like, especially in Europe, I'm seeing a lot more people get a lot of like usage out of VTrigger 2.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, it's scary.
Right.
Like, he still this time he doesn't have a meter, but he still gets the plus frames, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then like sometimes, like, you know, you can hold it and get the armor. You can use it as a frame trap and eat it as armor.
Yep.
But even then, it's still. I mean, it's minus. I'd say. It's a good feature. It really is. You get the corner carry, you get the damage, you get a mix off of it. It's not an Aegis mix, but it's Ogi corner carry. You know, it's good. It's all right. Would I pick it over Aegis? No.
Nope.
But it's really good for, like, you know, if you see like Akuma. I think if it's multiple hitting armor, or is it just one?
I believe it's just 1 hit.
You can go through a fireball or two. Like, if he doesn't, like, Akuma doesn't have meter, or if you it kind of nullifies like any demon flip he has.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you see it, you just charge it and then just rip. Man, it's an okay. Like I said, I think it's like the fact that it's more of a utility because of the corner carry and the Oki situation he gets off of it. I think that's like really good. Yeah, I'd say yeah. He's fine where he is.
Yep.
It's just one of those things where, like, would you pick this over Aegis? You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those.
Right. And that's really just on a case-by-case basis, depending on like the preference of the player or like the specific matchup.
Right, like, because Footwork he really likes VTrigger too. Like, he really likes VTrigger too. And I don't think he's played Aegis since VT2 dropped, so I don't know. Like, yeah, it might just be a preference.
And then of course just the VSkill, just to get them out of the way. Single hit armor on stuff, okay, but 3-hit chargeable projectile. I can basically.
And plus.
Yep. And I can basically win you against projectile wars against like fireball characters with no meter.
Yeah, it's pretty ignorant. That's why it's called ignorant thunder. I hate that happening. It's so irritating.
Most people do. So next on the list, in both VT, 1 VS, Bison. VSkill 2, the teleport behind, it's +2, it's a gimmick.
Plus 1. Let's not give him too much credit. +1.
Oh, it's +1. Oh, okay.
Dude, if that was +2.
Whack.
It's +1. Yeah, it's a gimmick. It's a scrap filler.
It's a really basic gimmick. It's pretty free crush counter.
But I mean, if you're not ready for it, because it looks like his backdash, right?
Right.
So, and it's still one of them things, like, if you're not ready for it, now he's plus in your face, you get counter hit or whatever. It's pretty annoying. And plus also, like, fucking, you do the special, which is EX Cycle Ball into fucking VSkill 2. Oh, hey, now I'm really plus. You gotta hold it, dude.
Yep, so it gives you that left-right mix.
Right, and even if you jump over, like let's say you hit Bison out of it, right? The cycle ball is still coming.
Right.
And unless you have a projectile and like invincible move, like Jury, like if I like VSkill won it, or if I EX flip kick, yeah, he can't do VSkill. But at the same time, it's like if you only have like a fireball or something, like if even Akuma, if he does like red fireball to contest it, now he's stuck in recovery. VSkill 2, GG's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you also run the risk of still having to deal with either head stomp or something. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'd say VSkill 2 is more of a preference, so I put it in both. I put him in both.
For those cases where you can actually pull off those left-right mix-ups and whatnot, and catching your opponent off guard.
Yeah, but then again, you did say at the. I mean, and even then, VSkill. VSkill 1
is the fireball catch / counter.
Yeah, it's the parry. Even then, I mean, VSkill 1 is. I mean, even then, you don't really see Bison do VSkill 1, even if they have VSkill 1. So both of his V-skills, they're okay, but at the same time, it's like they're not really doing it unless, like, okay, like Hitman, for example, you don't really see him doing it unless he's specifically playing up against a fireball character. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and the parry isn't that good, but the fact that he can still parry, but none of them parry, you know what I mean? It's still ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. So
I'd say it's more of a preference thing for Bison.
So for the sake of it being a preference thing, let's just move him up.
Yeah, for the sake of it being preference, because I mean, VSkill 2 is just as annoying. Yes, you hit him out of it, but in certain cases where he has meter, it's mostly annoying. But still, you know what I mean? It's still something you have to like deal with. And if you're not ready for it, you can get hit. Now he's, whatever. He can get out the corner with it. Even if because he's 1025 now, right? 1075, whatever.
Somewhere around there, yes.
So now, because I'm gonna say it's a free get out of jail. It's not get out of jail free card, but if he's in the corner, you just so happen to back up, he can either head stomp, get out the corner. He can EX knee, B+, get out the corner. VSkill 2 and B+, get out the corner. But he runs the risk of getting hit, if you're waiting on him. But if you're just, whatever. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, preference. That's just me. Preference.
So basically, to start off the 1 VTrigger both V-skills tier.
Vega.
Well, after Vega, Zeku.
1 VTrigger, one V-ski.
1 VTrigger, both V-skills.
At the highest level?
This is the one that I'm iffy about. Specifically in terms of the utility of V-skill. Probably V-skill 1 nowadays. Because I'm thoroughly convinced that VTrigger 2 is just better in most standard use cases.
Right.
Whenever it comes to the V-skills though, V-skill 1 gives you basically a attack that also stance switches, which is okay, I guess. You get some.
It stance switches and it can also switch sides. And he gets Oki.
Right. So it's good in that regard. V-skill 2, the animals, really it's just a matter of being able to approach a lot more easily. What is it, Young?
Young has the weasel, while Old has the eagle.
Yeah, the eagle. The weasel specifically, I think is pretty good for approaching from full screen. This allows you to get your offense going. The eagle, a little less useful outside of combo extension tool purposes, but still gets a decent bit of money.
Well, even then, it's not necessarily combo extensions, but there are some setups that Zeku has with Eagle to the point where he can because you gotta remember he can also out of the animation he can stance change at the end during the animation of his calls or whatever of his V skill. So let's say you get hit with crush counter sweep from Old, right? He can call the eagle, and then it's really hard to do, but he can call the eagle. He can stance change, have the eagle throw the bomb on top of him. Young Zeku back throws you. Now you have to deal with it, right? Either you jump out You jump out and get hit with a button, or you block it, but now it's plus because of the bomb effect.
Right.
So like in that sense, the eagle is still pretty like annoying to deal with, but the fact that he can stance change, you know what I mean? It's like it's not necessarily a gimmick because VSkill, the weasel is still a factor, right?
Right.
So it's just one of those things where like the eagle, yeah, pretty annoying, but has some good setup potential if you don't know it. But and it's like you have to deal with it in certain cases if they do the setup right. But yeah, Weasel, I ain't gonna say Weasel's too strong for it to not be considered. Cause you said both V skills, yeah. But VTrigger 1, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I think VTrigger 1's good. Let's see. Good against fireball characters.
Yeah, because it does have projectile invincibility.
I think it has strike. Does it have strike?
I can look this up. Survey says it has projectile and throw invincibility on frames 16 through 17. It has full invincibility on frames 3 through 15.
So yeah, it can't go through anything. I mean, well, VTrigger 1 is okay. It's okay because he gets okay damage from it, and both VTriggers are 2 bars.
Right.
So,
yeah.
VTrigger 2 helps a lot with Young. It does a lot more damage. He's in your face. He can switch sides. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but I do see the uses of VT1.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of the same as Vega. You just do it to slide, get the plus frames. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yep. All right. So next up in this tier, I just realized how like extremely small this tier actually is. Next, I put Cody.
One VTrigger, both V skills. I can see it. I don't see a lot of knife users. And even then, knife isn't that good anyway. He gets more plus frames, gets some range. He can throw it at you, throw it up, whatever. Yeah, VTrigger 1 sucks.
I think I think it might have been like Hoji used knife once against IDOM at CBT.
No. VTrigger 1 is actually broken because it goes through
Tiger
super. Yeah, stand horizontal, goes through super.
When I get the stream ready for YouTube, I'm gonna have to like find that clip and just like overlay it on top of this.
And I died for it. No me Fuha, and I died for it.
Yeah, VTrigger 1 broken. Why are y'all playing VTrigger 2? Just press the heavy punch. It goes through supers.
He's beaming, trust me. Okay, Sway is pretty good. VSkill 2, Sway is pretty good. And VSkill 1, the little like spin kick.
Situational.
It can anti-air. I've seen people use it to get out of like kind of tense situations.
Same with both of his V skills are very situational. Just that V skill 2, he can pop VT. So
yep.
The plus it has. I think both VTriggers are 2. Are they 2? Are they 2 and 3 or both 2 and 3?
I want to say.
I think BT1 is 2 and BT2 is 3.
That's what I want to say. Let's see, so.
So that's 2 bars.
Yeah, it's 2 bars, and then Dirty Coach is also 2 bars according to FAT.
This character cheap. I could have sworn Dirty Coach too. God damn. I could have sworn it was 3.
I thought it was 3 too, but apparently not. Cody cheap. Everyone play Cody, but nah.
Yeah.
So next character on the list for 1VT, both VSkills. I put Cammy here. I don't see VSkill 2 a lot, but VSkill 2 has some very powerful applications. From a couple of her other plus normals, you can frame trap into VSkill 2 and it gets a crush counter. VSkill 1, really good for side switches, really good for getting around projectiles. She's like +2 in your face on block.
Tiger!
Yeah. In regards to VT2, I don't see people use it. It's a command dash, which you can get like an overhead from.
Switcher. Both VTriggers, 1 VSkill. VSkill 2 isn't that good. It's just a crush counter. That's safe. Even then, it's not even safe. It's like -6. It's like an unpunishable but minus VSkill. It's not that great. Yeah, it's a crush counter. Sure. What you gonna get off of it? Flower arrow. BPs, knees. It's kind of not that good. And VT2 is a lot scarier because she can still be plus. She can dash at you. She has an overhead. She has a throw. Pretty annoying. And VT2 is a lot. I mean, you will see like if you play like Delta Red, he plays VT2. It's really good. And I think it's 2 bars. Look at all these cheap characters with 2 bar VTriggers.
Yeah, VT2's 2 bars.
Tiger! Sorry for the cuss word. God, bruh. I'm tired of this. let them bleed. Let them work for it. God.
Let them bleed.
She has no health, Capcom says. I don't care. She's ridiculous. But yeah, put her in 2 VTriggers, 1 VSkill, in my opinion. Because you're getting a lot more mileage out of VT2 than you are VSkill. Like, matter of fact, if you want, pull up a match right now of Delta Red, pull up a match and just watch how it works. It's really annoying.
You know what? I'm actually gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so he's using VTrigger 2 here.
Yeah, Delta's a really like, he's a really like hyper. I think it's hyper. But he's a really aggressive Cammy, but he knows how to like, turn it off when he needs to.
Okay, it's looking for an activation point. Okay.
That's close. Like that VTrigger activation was plus. I think it was like +3 or something.
Okay.
Look how slow it drains too.
Yeah, the V timer's lasting a lot for this. So it seems like she gets like 2 uses.
Yeah, she only gets like I think 1 or 2 afterwards. But the fact that it's still plus, like on both ends, like it's not like Vega's, right? Where like he gets the activation and he's plus. She gets activation and and another like dash. So that I believe is still plus. So you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the fact that she can even though she did smug as she Jesus, and he died. Man, no, okay, anyway, but the fact that she can do like the overhead or and all that other stuff, it's pretty like annoying. So basically she can do hooligan, with an overhead attached to it. Pretty outlandish if you ask me. And again, the fact that it's 2 bars, it just makes it that much better.
So there's an activation here. How plus is the overhead?
I think it's like +2.
Okay.
I mean, you can look on FAT and find out. Look at this.
Yeah, I can look. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up in a separate window. It is -2.
-2, so it's safe.
Yeah.
But no, it's an overhead, so yeah.
So she could get like a -2 mix into like EXDP or something.
Yeah, but I mean, most cameras are gonna do that because they die fast.
Yeah.
But at the same time, wow. But at the same time, she has like I said, she has a throw attached to that too. So if you press, you might get hit. You might get thrown. I mean, now is it better than VT1? I won't say so, but again, it's 2 bars. I'm not gonna call it a gimmick. It's just something you have to know about.
Right. So it's still another VTrigger that you can use.
Yeah.
Like at like a fairly high level, and with the right knowledge and experience, it's fairly optimal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm convinced. If you want to give this guy more retention time on YouTube, you can watch this guy yourself. Anyway, I'm going to move Cammy up here, and I'm going to move on to the next character in this list. Which
Go ahead and put a Falk, and everything is bad.
everything is bad. Listen.
We'll get there.
Okay, you know what? Because you brought this up, I'm actually gonna talk about this for real quick. Falk is one of those characters that, despite the fact that I've played her competitively for like 2 years, I didn't know where to put her on this list. Specifically because of her second VSkill. Now, if you're to just ask me based off of like how she was throughout the entire duration of Arcade Edition, I would just stand on the fact that like Falk is VTrigger 1, VSkill 1. You're not going to use VTrigger 2 at all. Yeah, she gets like some flashy extensions. Yeah, she gets a +2 overhead. But the activation point that you're going to get off of that relies very heavily on the fact that you have to make sure you're confirming your hit into it.
Or you could not pick this character and put her down in the bottom where everything is bad. She's annoying. I'm gonna cut her some slack. She's annoying to deal with. But
Yes.
her VTriggers and VSkill, VSkill 2 sucks. VSkill 1 is alright.
It's okay. It got a little bit better this season.
VTrigger 1 is just, hey, how long will you block?
Right.
That's literally all it is.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm just gonna keep doing this shot. Oh, you're blocking? Hey, I'm gonna do this shot again. Oh, you're still blocking? I'm gonna do it one more time.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any more VTrigger.
EXDP.
Yeah, and then it's the same as like Lucia's and Fury's. It's the same thing. It runs out too fast for it to matter.
Right.
Yeah, she gets some cool like I said, she gets some cool frame traps or whatever. But at the same time, it's still Falk on top of it.
Right.
And VTrigger 2, hey, you better be confirming your stuff or you die. I mean, I understand the character bias. We're like, hey, I wanted to have something. Dog.
She's bad, I know.
Put her down there. Take your cursor, click Falk, and put her in everything is bad. Yes, I know it hurts. Put her there. There you go. The first step is acceptance. You know, there's literally no reason you. If she had a different VTrigger or VSkill, you would ask for it immediately. If there was a third one, you must be, yo, it has to be better than whatever we got right now. You can't tell me, Pretzels. You can't tell me that those VTriggers and VSkills are worth doing. And if you tell me that, you're lying to me. He's quiet. Oh no, he's broken. Oh. He is broken. I broke the man. Oh man. At least, look, hold on. Listen to this. So you know how, like I said, hey, I'm gonna do like Falk. Hey, I'm gonna do these shots, right? Oh, they're still blocking. At least with poison, hey, here's a frame trap. Oh, you blocked it. Burn damage.
Right.
Oh, hey, you didn't block this. Hey, you didn't block this ball time. Big damage, corner carry. Time to guess. I'm sorry, but she sucks. I mean, look, my character's 1 tier above her. I'm not that far away.
One tier.
I mean, I would say VT1 exists, but in the highest level, no. Jury's VTrigger is a lot better than hers.
Maybe.
Dog. Come on, man. Well, my work here is done. We have officially broken pretzels. He tried his hardest to save her. Like, yeah, she's right here. No. No, she is not.
Oh god, I really hope that Rob doesn't follow me on Twitter. If not, I've just lost a Twitter follower. Anyway, next up on the list of I don't even remember what tier we even left off on. Jesus.
The thing is with Falk though, the fact like she has okay, like the VTriggers are okay. It's just the fact that they're attached to her. If she was a better character, and the VTriggers were a lot more scarier, sure. But as of right now, her VTriggers don't matter. You know what I mean? They just don't matter. Like if they gave her like the like instead of putting like, you know, on VTrigger 2 the hit activation, if they just gave that to her, like if she just activated normally and then just gave her just the hit, you know, as an extra thing to do, like let's say like back and both heavies, as a hit confirm and she could combo off it, that would be sick. Like the same as Jury's VTrigger 2. They gave her the initial, it's not the same, but if they gave her the initial like activation kick and B+, she would be a lot better. I mean, that I ain't gonna say she, but the VTrigger would be that much better. Even with Falk, on VTrigger 1, if she does the shots right, wait, no, it's not the shots, it's the fucking the staff spin, right? That's the actual VTrigger, the staff spin.
The staff spin is the VSkill 1.
Oh, VSkill 1, okay. And VT1 is just the shot, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in VT1, yeah, it can bounce off stuff. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, she can throw it. But she can already change her jump arc, so it doesn't matter. You're already waiting for it. Like if the fireball itself was homing, it'd be a different story. But since you're all, like I said, it's the same. Like it's just like Rashid. If you're already waiting for her to change her jump arc and you see the shot, that's a waste of VTrigger, right? Mm-hmm. It's already there. And then when she's doing the little block string shit, I'm pretty sure that's plus. Is it plus? I think it's plus 1. Is it plus 1?
I want to say it's more than plus 1.
Okay, I think it is. I think it's more than plus 1, but still, it's just plus. Then what, right? Then what she does? She does another stand medium kick into plus again, stand medium kick into plus again, and then it's done.
Yeah, because she's not really in range to like actually get much after that.
Right. So like if she was, like if she did like stand medium kick, like the activation, stand medium kick shot or whatever, and instead of it just being plus, like did you find out how plus it was?
It's plus 4.
It's plus 4. I mean that's still good, but at the same time it's just that. It's like, hey, plus 4, am I gonna throw or am I gonna do it again? At that point, what do, Pretzels? You take the throw. Who cares? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so next. Where did I leave off on this stupid list?
We were on the one VTrigger, both VSkill. Damn, I almost had an intervention. Gee, are you okay? Oh god.
You'll receive my therapy bill later. Anyway, next on this list, one VTrigger, both actually, whoa. Yeah, one VTrigger, both VSkills. Ibuki. The question for this one is mostly just like, do the caltrops matter? I feel like that's the only. I feel like that's the only question point here. If you were to like dispute this,
wait, why? Wait, oh no! Put her in both VTriggers one VSkill.
Do you think
VTrigger one is still annoying to deal with. People just, can you imagine? Look, 2016 to Arcade Edition, he was dealing with left, right. Remember? Still scary.
Yep.
Now, the fact that VTrigger 2 existed, it didn't take away nothing from VT1. It did not take it away.
But it was just that much better.
Yeah. Now, can you imagine someone saying, like, can you imagine any Ibuki player switching from VT2 to VT1? Now you gotta go back 3 years to remember the setup? Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that agree. It's still a good VTrigger. VT2 is just that much better. That don't mean it's still not jank.
Well, you know what? I was a scrubby silver player until AE existed, so I would not remember those times because most people in silver did not know how to use Ibuki then. So I will follow your judgment and I will put her up here.
Well, yeah. Do the cow drops matter? I've never seen VT1 with cow drops, so I think that would be annoying. But that's one of the things where like she hasn't been explored enough to do that. Because now people are just sticking with they're just doing what works. VSkill 2. No, VSkill 1, VT2. They're just doing what works.
Yeah. And I think it's mostly just like a matter of visibility. Like a bunch of the Ibuki players that I would kind of like expect to like really explore the potential of VSkill 2, players like Xian and Fujimura, we just haven't really seen too much of them. And in terms of like them exploring Ibuki, because I know that in like the case of Xian, he started exploring Seth a lot more. And Fujimura is a completely like different mystery. Like I haven't really seen much of really anything from him in terms of like a competitive lighting or him like practicing more time or really just putting more time into his Ibuki. So I feel like it's kind of difficult to kind of say where like the effectiveness and usability of caltrops can kind of like go towards because we just haven't seen it.
Right. So another thing is, there's an Ibuki player, I think it's Realistic or Realistic. He still uses VT1. Like he uses both. It's annoying to deal with. So like, I don't know if he plays VSkill 2, but that's why I say like put her. I would say right now. I'd say for right now, just for clarity, put her in 2 VTriggers, 1 VSkill, because we know VSkill 1 works.
Okay, so we know for certain that VSkill 1 is good. We know this. This is a fact.
At the same time, it's like, you know, if I think it's one of them things like if you do like if you hit some like if you do activation like VT1 activation, you hit him, you knock him in the air, you throw a cow drop, and then bomb or something. I don't know how much time she got left. That's still like annoying to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Even just thinking about it, I'm like, yo, that is pretty dirty. And then she get like, and then the fact that they're in the air for that long, you can get 3 down. You can get 3 cow drops down. You know what I mean? And 3 cow drops, command dash into bomb, and time to guess. At least that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know how much time she has left once they reach the air or something.
Well, until we can get clarity on VSkill 2, which I think we might have just gotten clarity because we have a resident Ibuki player from Ohio, Too Sweet, in the chat who happens to know of a particular sequence of VT1, VSkill 2 that would be of interest to us. So let's have a look. All right, so let me. All right, let's rewind that real quick.
Yeah, VT1. VT1, welcome back. How are you? Hello.
How are you? Dead.
How are you? Welcome back. We haven't seen you in a while.
All right, so this is a really good sequence that showcases the effectiveness of VT1 still.
Yeah, it's not necessarily VT. It's not necessarily VSkill 2, but
There's obviously some room where you could throw in some VSkill 2 stuff in here.
like, yeah, go back. Let it play again, and just and y'all just pause it when I tell you to. So this here, boom, boom. Keep going. Right here, he could have threw a cow drop, right? So the bomb, and still had VTrigger. So threw a cow drop, command dash. You know, if you get hit, you get hit, bigger damage, and then threw another bomb. It's pretty, yeah.
Yeah, we got some more. Hold up. This one's a lot shorter, so. Wait, hold some caltrops.
Jesus.
I'm interested in that trade from before.
What, the EADV?
Yeah. And then the bomb explodes, holds down the caltrops. He tries to EXDP, but gets counter hit off of the caltrops and gets
Yeah, and then you die. And then you die for it. Now let it play again. Cow drop. Now, if he blocked that, cow drop, right? Go back. If he had blocked it, still pretty annoying to deal with. So, boom, right?
Yeah.
He get hit with both up. No, he got hit with one. So if he would have blocked it, that's still plus because it looked like what was he doing? So, cow drops.
It looks like he back rows.
Dash. Hold on, bro.
Dash and then both traded. Apparently, Ibuki can also do crouch medium punch into command dash to push Ken into the caltrops as well. So she could do like a medium dash and then get the side switch and then push him back into the caltrops, which is also pretty. That's also pretty dirty. I'll be sure to refresh Vitality whenever he comes back, but I think with that we can comfortably we could very comfortably put Ibuki here. The only downside to VT1 VSkill 2 is V meter gain kind of sucks, and that's just your opinion. Okay, that's an interesting thought. Let's take care of the non-disputable entries on this list, which are the 1 VTrigger, 1 VSkill. So I'm gonna kind of like blitzkrieg through a lot of these. Alex, you're not using VSkill 2. You're not comboing from some of your specials into your other specials. It just ain't happening, Chief. Parry VTrigger 1, really good. It's almost stupid good. DDT and the other command grab, okay, but parry. Akuma, you're only using VT1 and VSkill 1. That you're not using VSkill 2 to build up your V gauge and just hold that up, and you're not using VTrigger 2 to combo your specials into other specials. I feel like we've been here before. G. VSkill 1 orb, still pretty good. Even better in VTrigger 1. VTrigger 2 command grab, it's yeah, it has a single hit armor. You can cheese people out with it. But yeah. Next on the actually, you know what? Jury's already on here. We already talked about Jury. Okay, let's forget Jury existed. Ken's going here. Step, run, and all the follow-ups that you get from that, step kick and whatnot. Those are good. It allows him to keep going with his offensive game. The overhead kick, you're not using that. It's not that good. It's really slow. You can just hit him out of it. VT1, the power up that he gets through all of his special moves in terms of damage and all the additional properties, it's good. Enough said. Shinryuken, it's a combo extender. That's all she wrote. Colleen. The strike is good. The command grab V skill is okay. The command grab V skill is okay. This is probably the one character that I originally put in this tier that I could see a really like big discussion for in terms of like which VTriggers that you should use, because VTrigger 2's comeback factor is pretty insane. The buffs that it gives to her parabellums, the buffs that it gives to her normals in terms of like I think damage as well as range. Basically full screen projectile punches with dash up vanity steps. It's one of those things where it's like VTrigger 1's still okay, but VTrigger 2 is significantly better. Now, whether or not that like completely writes off the usability of VTrigger 1, I can't entirely say for sure. That's a topic that we will discuss with Vitality whenever he comes back, because I'm sure that he will probably stop on Colleen. And then last character that I initially put in one VTrigger, one VSkill is Laura. You're not using the sway, which I think is her VTrigger 2, which is a complete waste of a VTrigger, and you're not using her leap kick or leap thunderclap thing. They try to give her a dive kick, which cool in concept, not good in practice. That's basically where I leave that. And then that's basically where I leave this list without, in terms of like what I like previously had set up. So in terms of these remaining characters, there were reasons why I stopped on each of them.
I have returned.
Okay, so basically while you were gone, I basically filled in the remaining VTrigger 1, VSkill 1 onlys that I had on my original list.
Well, VSkill 2, good against grapplers, good against characters who can't really knock him down reliably. Let's say Ryu. I put G at both V-skills, one V-trigger. Because Dangerous President is okay, it's alright, but it doesn't have a lot of uses.
Okay, Vitality says use protection. Ignore what I said earlier. Moving on.
I use protection. Wait, what?
Keep moving, Ken.
Because I'm the last person that should be saying, hey, use protection, because I'm a true father out here.
Also, don't check this man's Twitter. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, all that seems right.
Really?
Like, yeah, but like G, yeah, but with G though, like V-Skill 2 is okay. Like, if he levels up, and if he does V-Skill against like Geef, he gets all those levels, that's unwinnable. Even against Abigail, I don't say it's unwinnable, but it turns into a less favorable matchup for Abby. But Abby has Abby run. I would say the same thing for Honda, but he has butt slam to get past the fireballs. But even then, if he butt slams, he still has his levels. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for grapplers, it's pretty annoying. For against like normal characters, like everyone else, it's not that great. But the fact that how many? So he has, if he charges, he gets one knockdown free, and then the next one it goes away. Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, even then, he gets a damage reduction too. So even if they knock you down once, you still get the damage reduction. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one full combo that's reduced by like 10%. You know what I mean, or whatever it is, whatever the numbers are on that. Like I know it's like 10%, then 25, then 35, or some random. But the fact that you can take you can take 2 knockdowns of fully reduced damage on combos is still pretty good. And you keep your level is pretty good.
I was only aware of like the level keeping property of this. I wasn't aware about the damage reduction.
Yeah, if you look at it real quick, I'm pretty sure he gets reduced damage.
So it decreases the amount of damage stun taken by 10% up to 3 times.
Yes. See? So it's 10, 20, then 30. So if you level up 3 times, it's 30% damage reduction. That is, I mean, even then, 10% reduction is pretty OD.
Yep.
Especially for what, a 1025, 1050 character? That can rob you blind? That's That'd be pretty tight if my most optimal combo would have killed anyone else but him, because now he has 1100 health.
Right.
Well, it's alright, it's pretty good.
Okay, so I'm actually kind of surprised that you were okay with Colleen being where she is.
Because, I mean, Diamond Dust, which is VT1, it's alright. It's not that great because why play VT1 when you play VT2?
Right.
Which also bumps up her neutral like a lot. But it's the same thing with some of these characters. Like, why play this feature when you can just play the other one? But it really like goes to the point where like some V-triggers are just not worth doing. Like Jury's VT2, like Akuma's VT2 is alright. Like you would rarely use it. It's like the same as like, oh hey, well you just said don't use VSkill. But gee, you said VSkill 2 is good, so why not use that one? I mean, it's just a preference thing. Like with Bison, like with the Urian, it's a preference thing. It's better in some matchups, but at the same time, it's like, you know, G barrier is really good, but the G protection is really good too. Unlike Ken's VSkill 2, which is only plus if you charge it, it's a gimmick. Akuma's VSkill 2, which I think is minus on block anyway. Laura's VSkill 2 is pretty butt. Her VT2 is really
Tiger.
It's really good against going through what, Fireball? Well, certain
Tiger.
I don't know if it's Fireball or if it's strikes, but it's a gimmick.
Yep.
And with Colleen, her VSkill 2 is a gimmick in itself, because now she doesn't have parry, which is like a thing. You know what I mean? Her parry is all right. It's not that great. On counter hit, she gets a combo.
Yep.
And then, I mean, with the command grab leaving it in free state, I mean, it kind of, you know, it makes you want to hit her, but at the same time, it's like, okay, my stun's gonna stay here if I just get beat up anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Diamond, like I said, and Diamond Dust isn't that great. I mean, she only gets 2 use. Like, she gets activation and then 1 more use. It's got good corner carry, but you lose the buff tail. You just lose out a whole lot more than just, you know, hey, here's this combo extension, or hey, here's this thing to make me safe.
Right.
To use that compared to Akuma, who's like, hey, I can use VT2 if I wanted to, but this one's just so much better. But if I want to, I can. It's like at that point, Colleen, at the highest level, Colleen doesn't have a choice. If she wants to win, she has to play VT2, VSkill 1. She has to. Like for Akuma to win, he doesn't need to use. He can use VT1 VSkill 2 if he wanted to, or he could do VT2 VSkill 1, because it's the same. It's the same thing. He's literally the same character.
Yeah, I can see that.
He could do like freaking crouching medium punch, stand medium kick, VT2, VT1 pop, well VSkill 2, VT2, VT1 pop into, you know, now you're in the air, into some combo or whatever, some setup, because he's Akuma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with Ken, VSkill 2 is just, hey, you're gonna let me charge this up? Stupid. Why? Like, why would you do that? Why would you let me charge this? Like, nah. And Shinryuken it's good for catching fireball. I'll give it that. It's good for catching fireballs. It's got a vacuum effect on it. It's all right. But the fact that it's not a DP, because they only gave it as projectile and strike invincibility, and it's the same thing, literally the same thing.
Right.
And that's the thing about these second V triggers too. If you noticed, Karen and Vega have the same exact V trigger. They have the same exact move.
Yes.
this VTrigger too. But how come she gets like she gets 3 misses and also 3 successful parries, while Vega gets 1 successful parry and 2 misses? Does that make sense? No.
On surface, no.
Who else has like a similar VTrigger? I want to say, Laura and Guile both have similar VSkill 2s, but Guile can't charge his. Laura can charge hers, but at the same time, Laura's isn't that good. Why? I don't know. But Giles can loop combos. He can do all this other stuff. Laura's like, hey man, I have this VSkill dash I like using. Hey, I have this fireball I can charge in the air that you can just DP. I also have this overhead that is also minus on block. I think like -3. Even then, I don't think it's an overhead. It's the same with Cammy's. Cammy's is an actual overhead. Laura's VSkill 2 kick isn't. I don't think. So to answer the question about your thumbnail, is the V system balanced? No.
To answer that question right now, just getting right to it. No.
It's like in terms of utility, yes, everyone has like decent. Everyone has like look at the list right now. Look at it. It's okay. Everyone's in a spot where like you have choices. You have characters who don't have a choice, but at the same time, if they did have the choice, would it matter? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Jury had the choice to play VTrigger 2, would we really use it? Hell no. Because fun fact, for those of you who don't know, if let's say my opponent has full meter, right? Like has all the meter, and I have none. Did you know that I only get 2.9 bars? I don't even take the full bar. I only get super. Also, did you know that while I'm hitting you, while VT2 is active, you still get meter? Yeah.
I feel like meter stealing moves in this game just haven't been like implemented to like a threatening level as they were probably intended to be.
Yeah, it's because when you take a hit, you gain back a significant amount of meter.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When you're getting hit, you don't get more meter. But if you're taking hits, you get a lot more meter than I think the person hitting you is.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, I can get more meter as I'm stealing your meter. But it's not gonna matter at the end because now instead of having 2 bars, now you have 1.95. When if I was taking your meter and stopping your meter gain, you see how much different of a move, like how different of a VSkill that would be, or VTrigger that would be. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I can't even steal I can't even get a super. Like if I don't have any meter, and you're AFK, and I just want to pop VTrigger and just stand next to you, I'm still being the gentleman by not hitting you, but I'm just taking your meter. But I can't get a full bar. That's kind of whack. I think it's like 2.95 or 2.9 something. I get two bars and some of the next meter. It's pretty dumb.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Laura. Like if you rip Laura's VT2 was really good, like was better, but would you still use that over VT1? No. Now, G is a different story. If his VT2 got better, then he would be bumped up to 2 VTriggers, 2 VSkill. You see what I'm saying? He has a lot more freedom. Hell, even with Gill's VTriggers are really good. If Divine Comet was Ibuki's bomb, can you imagine how annoying that character would be? Can you imagine it? I Shall Persevere would be everywhere.
Shall Persevere.
But yeah, is it balanced? Yes. Are the moves Are the moves themselves balanced between the cast? No.
No.
Because you have certain characters who have the same exact V trigger and or V skill that just do it better. So that's the problem. If you want Karen to have a counter V trigger, make it like Vega's. If you want Vega to have a counter V trigger, make it like Karen's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when the moves themselves can balance. But like in terms of uses, the V triggers themselves are balanced. The V system is balanced.
So for the sake of concluding with the rest of the list, we still have these 7 characters down here that I need to figure out where to put them.
Let's make this easy. Put Ryu and everything is bad.
Oh.
Dude, put him there.
Okay, so I get it. VSkill 2, it ain't that good. VSkill 1, it's a parry. It's not the best parry in the game, but it's also not the worst. VTrigger 2 is, I've seen people use it. I don't know why they use it. You can bait it. And then VT1, Denjin Hadoken, guard breaks, faster fireballs, a little extra damage with DPs.
I mean, at the same time, it's just like it's whack though.
We've talked in the past about how Ryu can kind of have an issue opening up his opponents outside of just throwing them. And I feel like the design intent for VTrigger 1 was to kind of have that threatening element of him having a charge up unblockable, and then that could be like another way he could open you up outside of like doing an overhead.
And now, you know what the problem with fireballs in Street Fighter 5? Every character on this list, every character in this game had an anti-fireball tool.
That was the design intent with, well, heavily with season 1 and definitely with the launch roster. A lot of characters were designed with anti-fireball tools in mind.
Right, but now it's gotten to the point where literally almost everyone has an anti-fireball tool.
Right.
Good or bad.
Right.
So, what's Ryu's game plan here? He just loses. Is he the worst character in the game? No, Alex exists, it's just he can't do anything. He has like 1+ button or 2+ button. He's super stubby. I mean, I'm glad they fixed his VT1 to where like it doesn't drain on. It has a timer. It's not like a move drain.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like, what does that do for him? And then they gave him this second V skill, which is a parry.
I have ideas about these last like 6. I feel like Blanca is a case where you can make both V skills work, but VT1 ground shave roll is just impractical. You should just use VTrigger 2.
Facts. That's very true. Again, if Blanca, if the roll was better, he would have choices. But even then, even if it was better, would you still use that over VT2? No, you would not.
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. And then VSkill 2 is okay. What is VSkill 1 again? The jump?
VSkill 1 is coward crouch into its follow-ups. And then VSkill 2 is the ground slam, which can negate fireballs.
Yeah, it's plus. So he's walking plus frames. Yeah, it's annoying. Does he have a backdash from VSkill 1, or is it just the jump?
I think it's just a jump. It's either jump or he can like stand again. I don't think he can jump back.
So yeah, even like again, if he had VSkill 1 was better, would you still use it? No. That's what you gotta think about when you're trying to like to make a list like this. Is when like, hey, if this VTrigger was better, would I still use it over my current VSkill, over the best VSkill right now? No. Like if Jury's VSkill 2 was like better in certain situations, yeah, I would use it. Like against grapplers, but if it like worked, like if it was a 2-hitter that stayed out longer, hell yeah, I would use that. Because then at that point, if it was 2 hits, it'd be plus on block. And the setups you can have with that, with her walk speed, you see what I'm saying? And again, it's just one of the things like when you like, hey, do I like if this was better than this, would I still use it? No, probably not. Same with like it's the same with Falcon, the same with Ryu. It doesn't matter how their V skills work or their V triggers work. They're just bad characters.
Yeah.
Like Alex is a bad character, but his V skill, not his V skill, but his V trigger kind of makes up for it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I got put on Twitter, and he still lost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now, here's the thing though, you got characters like Nash and Nakali. Nakali's V triggers are the exact same,
with the exception of one move, and I was talking about this while you were gone, but I'm surprised I didn't put Nakali in one V trigger both V skills, because one of his unique V trigger moves is significantly better than the other, and that's the little like the breath, as opposed to like the giant like overarching command leap that I think BT1 gives you.
Mm-hmm. Even then, I would still give him both V triggers, both V skills. I would still do it.
Really?
Because I think the overarching leap is just like Nash's VT2 leap. It's the same thing. I think.
Thanks.
And the fact that I think. And like it goes over fireballs or some shit like that, and it's not that like it's not faster than Nash's, but it's pretty fast. And the fireball, it's not. It has a lot of startup. And the fireball's not that good either.
The leap has projectile invincibility from frame 16 to 47 with just the regular version, and it has invincibility on frames 25 to 63 on the hold version. And apparently the hold version also TGs.
What is it on block?
The regular version's -2. The hold version is +2. And the hold version crumples on hit.
What's the startup on the fast one, the normal version?
43.
Yeah. I thought it was faster than that. I thought it was like just the same speed as a dash or something, like 18, 19 frames.
Yeah, no, it's like 3 times that.
Huh.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. But even then, they don't use the V skill. They don't use those moves anyway.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. But even then, like now, again, it's the same thing. That's why I said Nakali is a weird one, because the moves that he gets from those are terrible. If the fireball was better, if that fireball was an actual fireball that moved at that speed, or it moved a little further, it'd be scary. Like if he could walk behind it, that'd be scary, right. Especially in that VTrigger that doesn't go away. If his if his little crash down was faster, and it was more invincible on, against projectiles, then yeah, it'd be worth using. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Even with it being -2, it's still worth using because now I'm in your face with a V trigger that doesn't go away.
Yeah, I guess that's another element you have to consider when the call, just the fact that he will always have both of his V triggers once he activates. That's another element that makes him kind of unique.
So he's one of those like unique cases where like the moves he gets from his V triggers don't matter because both V triggers do essentially the exact same thing, which is unlimited. But in this case, yeah, he would be one V trigger, both V in this particular
case. I might want to throw in like a separate category just for Nakali at this point.
It doesn't warrant that, because even then it's what if they buff those moves, right?
Right.
And even if, like I said, even if they did, his thing is if they did buff those moves, he would be in the top. Both V triggers, both V skills, because then it'd be a preference thing. But since right now they don't use either of those moves, you know what I mean? It really doesn't matter which V trigger he uses, and the V skills he has are good. So
right.
He's fine where he is.
Next case, Mika, I want to say one VTrigger, one VSkill. I've seen some like kind of interesting stuff with Steel Chair, but
Yeah, that's a gimmick in itself.
yeah.
Steel Chair.
And then the parry's just like not that great.
Mm-hmm.
Nash is
Nash. Nash is most definitely 2 V-triggers, 1 V-skill.
with the one VSkill being the one that enhances the Sonic Scythes.
Obviously, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Tiger! Hey man, I'm gonna steal this fireball. Amazing.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like he steals the fireball, and he gets V gauge, but that's it.
It doesn't do.
There's really nothing else. Like they try to make more people use it. Like they made like target combos in that go into VSkill, but then it's just like, okay, why? But yeah, so both VTrigger is one VSkill. Nash just belongs there. Manat is kind of interesting. So
It's just one V-trigger, 1 V-skill. Let's not lie to each other. Come on, man. It's not real. That V-skill 2 is not Rose's soul spine. It's not.
it's not Roses, and it's not like a Ibuki VSkill 1, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay, so VT2 is like,
But
it's easier to use.
so Manat is still a hard character to use.
Manat is
And
still a difficult.
why would you pick V-skill V-trigger 2 over instant overhead mix-ups with VT1, longer combos with VT1,
Yep.
more mix-ups with VT1, you know?
Yeah.
If they buffed it to where she can use it more than once, that would be cool, but even then it's still not worth it. So it's still one of those things like, hey, if they buff this, would it be worth using in the one I currently have? No, it's not.
Well, I'm pretty sure that for VT2 for Manat, she can like use it once with the activation, and then she can summon them again.
And I think that's all she gets. She only gets that one extra activation.
Right.
And even then, the V trigger itself is not that good.
It's fairly limited in terms of like what you can actually do with it.
I like how you're being so nice. It sucks.
Listen, I'm being an equal opportunist here.
I'm just saying it's whack. I mean, I say about my character. We don't have a V trigger. We don't have 2 of those.
We don't get to.
That's what I'm saying. We don't get 2.
All right.
Not 1 V trigger, 1 V skill. And
now for fantastic Asian notorious gang.
V skill.
I wish I were kidding about the acronym. That's actually what it is.
V skill 2. V skill 1 is take the poison. V skill 2 is flight.
No, V-Skill 2 is the parry. He gets like a counter.
Oh,
Flight's just a move.
oh, damn.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. See? So V-Skill 2 is already a whack.
And then
V-Skill
V-Skill 1 is like the poison cloud that whenever you're near, it's kind of like Jury's in a way, where it's like whenever you're near him, you just kind of like, you feel the effects of it.
Wait, V-Skill 1?
Or V-Trigger 1, my mistake.
Oh, yeah, okay. So can you just make can you make a column where it says nothing but 1 V-Trigger?
Nothing but 1 V-Trigger? Is that seriously where we're at?
Listen, I mean, take the poison. Okay, sure. You just walk forward because it doesn't do any damage initially. Well, actually, you know what? No. I take that back. V-Skill 1, V-Trigger 2, the poison ball does damage.
Yep.
Okay, I was about to say, oh boy, this character sucks.
I was about to say V-Trigger 2. You're forgetting a whole other V-Trigger here.
Yeah. So yeah. He's one V-Trigger, 1 V-Skill. Because that parry is a god awful.
Would that leave we've basically we've gone through the entire roster, and the conclusion that we can come to is
Pretty balanced.
the V system as a collective whole. It's pretty balanced. There's a decent variety of characters that can use all four of their options, two of their options, and there are like very few that are just like stuck with just one set. And then there's two that are just like good luck.
Essentially.
But in terms of the individual moves themselves across all the characters, that in and of itself is not balanced, because there are some characters that have very similarly functioning V-system specific moves that don't act the same as other characters in the roster. And that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Isn't Lucia's VSkill 2 like Sakura's?
Lucia's V-skill 2 is like Ken's V-skill 2. It's like Chun's V-skill 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought she had a knee and then like the over. I thought she had another option.
She has like the knee.
Okay. Yeah, this looks about right to me.
Yep, seems fairly balanced. A lot of my opinions stayed. A lot of them, quite a few changed over the course of like us talking amongst ourselves, and then also like referring to people that are in the chat who also or just happen to play some of the characters that we don't play. So
Right, like this.
So overall, I'd say this was a very good success.
Yeah, like to piggyback on what you said about the moves themselves, like I keep bringing up Karen and Vega like analogy is just the best one. They both have counters. They both do the exact same thing, but Vega gets 2 whiffs, 1 use. Karen gets 3 whiffs, 3 uses.
Yep.
That's kind of bogus. Who else has who else that had a similar one? Zeku and Ken. Ken's isn't an anti-air. Zeku's is.
Yeah.
Zeku's also has projectile invincibility, while Ken's also has projectile invincibility, but again, it lacks the strike invincibility.
Yep.
Even Zeku's isn't it's not an EXDP. Like it's strike invincible just on frame 3, so it's not fully invincible. But the fact that it has that invincibility for strikes makes it that much more of a more of a better VTrigger. And like I said, it beats anti-air attacks, while Shinryuken does not, which is dumb because that's what it's meant to do. And most of these is just one of those things where it's like, hey, if they buff this a certain way, okay, one character can have better options, while other characters, hey, if they buff this a certain way, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Well, that's like kind of how the balance, I guess, how it works. Because like if they buffed, what is even Mika's V skill? God damn, what is her V skill 2?
Mika V skill 2 it's a counter.
It's a what?
Mika V skill 2 is a counter. It's a single hit counter. She puffs out her chest, she takes a hit, she strikes back, and she's like, yeah, I did it.
What does it knock down?
I think.
If they buff that, it doesn't matter.
Tiger!
You could ask the guy who does my graphics. He was not happy with the Mika update for CE.
Wait. I swear, Quasi is your
Quasimodo, yeah. he went on like a thing for like a month of him just writing like angry Mika posts of just, or not even like angry Mika posts, but it's like angry Mika drawings of him just like bodying the other characters like, how did you get buffs? Talk.
I love Quasi's face. That would be hilarious.
Listen, you need to go back. It's a Quasi's feed. Just go on the Twitter, look up Quasi's posts from like December and January. They're hilarious.
Oh wait, hold on. Sagat's both beat. Yeah. Okay, Sagat. I was about to say, wait a minute. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I see Sagat's use like a lot of his options like very interchangeably.
But yeah, I agree with this list.
Falk sucks. Ryu sucks. Fang almost didn't. Fang almost had his own category.
He almost had his own column.
Literally just like, hey, only VTrigger.
Only one VTrigger. Like, literally only one VTrigger.
But the fact that VSkill 1 makes VT2 that much better and kind of saved it.
Dang,
Cause boy, oh boy, if that did not do any damage, like any like hit, like an actual hit, he was like some one. Made one VTrigger, only one. That's all he had.
Man gets to live for another day. Gets to live one more day.
One.
But I think with that, I think we're good to conclude anything. If you don't have any additional thoughts, then we can get back. We can get into the outros.
Yeah, buff jury.
Buff jury. Look, you're getting 2 costumes from the costume contest. That's your buff.
Nice.
Yes.
All 20 of us jury mains did it.
All 20 of you.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and head out. This was a really good talk, Pretzels. Hopefully, I can get my PC and stuff set up because it's currently just sitting down there because I can't run a wire to my floor yet. Because
Tiger uppercut.
so, well, see you, chat. See you, Pretzels. I'll catch you later, buddy.
All right, catch you later, Austin. So thank you guys so very much for tuning into today's very special discussion. If you like what you saw today, be sure to click on the subscribe button and notification bell to get notified of the next time that we post another discussion video like this. If you like what you saw today, be sure to like the video. It really helps out a lot. And also, if you have anything you want to say, if you agree with our opinions, if you disagree with what we have to say, if you have some issues with how we discussed the frame data or something about some of the characters, be sure to leave a comment in the description below and let's get a discussion going. So that's all I got for you guys today. As always, I have been your master, ShaolinPretzels. Always, my monks and disciples, stay salty.